Welcome back in our Health and Wellness Hour. If you have questions on any of our health products, and specifically questions with the related to what we're talking about this segment, Lumen Photon, and the next two segments we'll be talking with Emil de Toffel, DDS, engineer, electrical expert on electro pollution, and then we'll be having Dr. William Pollack on about Somopulse. Tim Alexander's on the third hour, and of course today it's important to understand what is Lumen Photon. And he had an interesting story about a gentleman who got in his 80s. He had previously been a smoker for a period of time when he was younger, got severe shortness of breath. Most people don't realize that if people have shortness of breath, they could have chronic lung disease, or they could have signs of congestive heart failure or a combination. If you have significant edema, it usually means pulmonary hypertension and right-sided heart failure. If it's left-sided heart failure, it means peak exercise tolerance is dramatically limited. It's important to understand that there are sometimes silent disease like coronary artery, but in most cases, it's not idiopathic. It's because you're dealing with an idiot doctor who doesn't know how to investigate it. They don't look for CoQ10 metabolism deficiencies, like measuring CoQ10 in their blood or in cells. They don't measure heavy metals or free levels of magnesium inside the red blood cells or other minerals. They don't measure these specific things. And if you want to reverse that, I have protocols and specific tests you can do to find out what is your problem with why you're short of breath. If you have chronic lung disease, you have a combination of that and heart. And what tests need to be done that are conventional, advanced, genetic, and otherwise. Most of the time it's covered by the way in your insurance, including things like high-speed CT scans, echocardiography, treadmill EKGs, if you're able to do a treadmill rather than a nuclear Lexa scan. I tell people the problem is that those doctors often stop there and don't measure things like the cardio-ion test panel or any other tests. And because they're uneducated, and that's disturbing, because they think, well, if my drugs don't work, I'll give you more drugs. Well, that's not the case. And universally, this gentleman was given a Lumen Photon, and within a half an hour, he actually got more mobile. He was put on the NICO setting, and what it's going to do is raise the level of oxygen metabolism and production of L-carnitine, CoQ10 activity in his vessel walls. If you're getting oxidized fatty acids, it causes coronary artery spasm. If you've got oxidative stress there and peroxynitrate radical, you're going to have decreased circulation in the microcirculation of your heart, your cardiac muscles, which are two-thirds dry weight. Mitochondria, it's a really big deal to not understand mitochondrial metabolism, is the cause of heart disease. And when you start adding energetics with Lumen Photon, this gentleman noticed a big difference. Tell us the story, Ron, because people need to know the Lumen Photon therapy for, let's say, bringing up your C-reactive protein, you just put it over the kidneys to a normal level, bringing it down to a normal level, improving circulation to your lungs or heart if you have a high calcium score and you're trying to reverse that, regenerating heart muscle if you've had heavy metal poisoning. All these things are extremely important, and conventional doctors stop because that's the limit of their training, and it shouldn't be considered alternative. This is molecular, genetic, toxicological. It's fully integrative molecular and genetic medicine, and it should not be considered an alternative. This is not alternative medicine. I get angry when I hear that foolishness.
Yeah, they have that 10 or 15 minutes per patient as they come in, so they only have a limited amount of time.
They don't even get 15 minutes. They get probably all maybe of 8 or 9 minutes, so the patient doesn't tell them in 30 seconds to a minute what the problem is. The doctor's got a script pad, and his shoe is always already halfway out the door before you get to the 8.5 or 9 minute line.
Yeah, that is.
And, the problem is that, even if the nurse or technicians do other little tests, boom, 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 you got to be in and out, and the doctor's on to the next gerbil cage, I call it.
Yeah, that is it. Yeah. And so what this does is gives everybody else that wants to use this a chance to get better. And it works almost all the time. We have a 30-day happiness warranty, and we get back. Well,
no, if it doesn't work, it means there's something else missing.
Yeah,
and I know how to find those something else. I mean, it's not. It's to me, it's not bizarre. It's really straightforward. You look for heavy metals. You look for deficiencies of CoQ10 ubiquinol. You look for deficiencies of carnitine in its various forms, including propionyl L-carnitine, which is an IBS care, mitocarnitine, acetyl L-carnitine, which is primarily going to cross the blood-brain barrier to the brain. But the propionyl L-carnitine in IBS care, for example, for this gentleman, he should be taking 2 twice a day. He should be taking CoQ10 ubiquinol at least 3 to 4 twice a day. And the CoQ10, bite one every 4 hours during the day and hold it under his tongue. And he'll notice remarkable improvement in energy. If you add other things like Her Royal Majesty, which helps with pantothenic acid for fatty acid metabolism, BioLVR, other nutraceuticals to improve the various pathways, the energy metabolism comes back. It's just amazing. You use mitocarnitine, mitochondrial catalysts, uridine, triacetyl uridine. When we start adding these nutraceuticals, and we actually can do blood tests to actually prove it too. So it's not a matter of just, you can do basically a echocardiogram with heart wall motion study. You can do all kinds of advanced tests if you want to. And we can prove that people are metabolically improving. So this idea it's inevitable, you go down the toilet and you're done, not true. Someone's diabetic, you get control of their blood sugar. And you do that by eliminating the high glycemic foods and totaling up the total amount of insulin stimulation in your body per gram of glycemic food equivalent. And it's pretty straightforward. I can even tell people how to do it themselves, get the proper phone apps, and they can get their blood sugar under control. And if they do use medicines like metformin, use it minimally until you finally get better control in your diet and get your weight down and you don't need it anymore. So the problem is you don't chase it with more and more pills. You try to use the pills as an emergency like the splint, and then you get off the pills as soon as you can. Yeah. And nutraceuticals are essential. You got to detox. If there's heavy metals in your body, dang, you got to get them out of there because they're going to screw up your CoQ10 if you're taking a statin drug. And now, of course, the lumen photon is applicable to everything. If we get head injuries, we help people recover from head injuries. If they got dementia, if they've got retinal problems, cataracts in their eyes, if they've got problems with blocked carotid arteries or the circle of Willis in their head has got poor circulation, we call Swiss cheese microhypoxia from bad circulation in their brain. We can improve that. And lumen photon helps the body enzymatically speed up if you're taking enzymes like Inflamex and lumbrokinase, nattokinase to clear out the plaque out of your artery walls. In other words, it augments the natural things we give people. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah. And it is really simple to use. You can use it effectively. Let me clarify that. It's extremely effective to use, simple to use, and very effective. Even if you did entirely different from what I would choose, you're still going to get good results. We're looking at the best possible outcome.
Yeah, you want to combine everything. In other words, you have to have all the players on the field. If you're going to play like soccer or any sport, you have to have all the players. You want to have the netminder, which is your lumen photon. You want to have all the various things, magnesium, CoQ10, carnitine in its various forms, all the trace minerals that are necessary, all the other fatty acids, etc., all the things, the cofactors.
Yeah. Gone?
When all the players are on the field, you win the game.
Yeah. Okay.
So, Ron, any other interesting stories you have?
For us, I think some of the more recent ones, again, it goes back to the horse world, because this is where it was originally, this is where the U.S. Olympic equestrian team trained for something like 65 years. And we deal with horses on a regular basis, even still today. And a horse doesn't know a placebo. So if a horse is hurting and we put the lights on there and the horse isn't hurting anymore, it says, "Oh, I feel better," period, and it shows up in its movement. So that's something that we see and hear all the time. My horse was limp for something, had a lame leg, that sort of thing. It works on a horse. If it works on a horse, gee whiz, what does it do for us? It's safe enough to use on us easily. And it takes very little energy to operate these. This is very, we're talking microwatts, milliwatts.
Extremely efficient. And the energy will penetrate a foot through, muscle, ligament, bone, brain, liver. And the energy technology is very straightforward. This is not a heat pad. These are light therapy pads. In fact, you can even use a gel pad, like out of your refrigerator, and put a terry cloth in between the lumen photon or even through your body, and it'll go through all of them, and actually the light therapy will affect you and heal. That's amazing.
Yeah, that is.
Lumen photon, an amazing technology, so many uses, you just can't believe it. I have mine operating right now, actually. It's fantastic. You just turn it on and away it goes. Thank you, Ron. We'll be back in a moment with Emil de Toffel, and your questions are welcome on electropollution as well. Welcome back, and let's start by ruling our bodies. Firstly, we got to know about the dangers, whether it's toxins outside or toxins that kind of slide through your walls and slide through your pipes in your home. We call dirty electricity. Dirty electricity is everywhere. The newer forms of electrotoxins are smart meters, Wi-Fi networks, high-energy cell phones. Now the newer, higher-energy ones have even more punch to them. And just got a lot of new reports, in fact. You just sent me an email this morning. I've been looking at these articles published in the National Library of Medicine, and they're quite remarkable. Selenium reduces mobile phone 900 megahertz, induced oxidative stress, Emil, mitochondrial function and apoptosis in breast cancer cells. Other associated articles talked about melatonin and electromagnetic radiation reduced oxidative stress. We actually were giving melatonin to people that we put in hyperbaric chambers back in Denver to try to protect them from the oxidative stress of 3 atmospheres, 100% oxygen. And, of course, mobile phone-induced myocardial oxidative stress. So, in other words, cell phones are a factor causing coronary artery spasm. And there's also some things you can take to protect that. We have, of course, the cell detox glutathione, selenium cruciferate, Nutrimedical, and Regenerex, just to say a few. And then the fatty acids with antioxidants like NutriDefense and hydroscatechin and others. It's just pretty amazing. So, Emil, tell us about these articles. What do you take from them?
Well, it's interesting that they're even studying the effect of nutritional supplements like selenium on the biochemistry of the cells before and after exposed to mobile phone type radiation, 900 megahertz. And so it's just further evidence that the scientific community is catching up here and starting to realize this isn't just hokey, that there are biochemical markers that can be measured in a body to show the oxidative stress, to show the effect on mitochondrial function, to show apoptosis, and that you can see changes before and after exposure to a cell phone conversation. As well, this particular one takes it even further. This study just came out this month, or just a week ago,
right,
showing how selenium will help prevent the adverse effects from the microwave exposure. And so selenium, suggesting selenium as a nutritional supplement may be protective for our bodies in
97% of the soils,
dirty world.
97% of the soils in North America are virtually completely devoid of selenium. So we have selenium cruciferate, which is the best form. We also have selenium in its Trax form in Vitamin Mineral Max Minerals Plus. We also have the cell detox glutathione, etc. And things like our anhydrous catechin, NutriDefense, the polyphenol. We have, of course, the goji berry in our NutriComplete, which, by the way, is coming back out of back order on Monday. We have all kinds of things that protect you. And so this is not a minor thing. I mean, people that take nutraceuticals, people that take remediative technology. I just talked to a gentleman yesterday who is moving to an apartment complex, or kind of one of these homes where, government built this home, and right above the apartment building is a giant mast with many, many cell towers. Well, I tell him, he said, you're going to have to put something in your ceiling to block that cell tower radiation because it's going to harm you. And what would you suggest for that gentleman? What would he put in the ceiling?
Yeah, that's a very common circumstance. We had recently we had a firehouse with the same thing. They had their big antenna, their own communications antenna on the roof, and all the firemen sleeping up on the top floor there were being irradiated. We have shielding paint that's very easy to apply. It's a water-based paint, very effective at shielding radio wave and microwave radiation. You paint that ceiling, with the paint. You let it dry, and then you paint over it with an ordinary latex paint or whatever color you like. You never even know it was there, but it can be very effective at blocking the microwave radiation coming from that direction. It can be painted onto walls. It can be painted onto floors, doors, whatever you can paint with this shielding paint. We actually have 3 different versions of it. One is a copper-based paint called Cuprocoat. This one offers the highest shielding performance. It goes on in a sort of a coppery, light, almost a mocha color. It's water-based, but it does have a little bit of an odor to it. The second one is a carbon-based paint. Has a little bit lower shielding performance, goes on black. So you can easily tell where you've painted and where you haven't. And this
right.
material here, you usually need 2 coats of paint to cover over it. Its main advantage is that it's a bit less costly. And the third paint is a nickel-based or nickel-containing material that's a 0 VOC. So if you've got a chemical sensitivity but you still want to use a paint for shielding, you choose this one here. It's called Air Pure. And this will give you good radio frequency shielding with a 0 VOC. So we have 3 different materials for 3 different circumstances depending on your particular requirements. You can use them indoors or out. Remember, you do need to top coat them with a protective layer of latex paint.
Exactly,
you never want to use these on a surface that's discontinuous, for example, on a drop ceiling where you have individual panels. You don't want to paint there because you're going to have gaps between the panels that are not going to be shielded. You're going to have leakage coming through those gaps. Or if you have a ceiling that has cracks, or for some other reason the paint will be discontinuous, you don't want to use a paint product. You can use one of our fabric shielding in that case, and you can put that up like you put up wallpaper, or in the case of a drop ceiling, you could actually put it above the tiles in a nice continuous surface. So those are all possibilities if you have an antenna mounted on your roof or above your living space, or you feel like you have radiation beaming down at you, whether from satellite or aircraft or any other reason why there's radiation coming from above. There are many options there. In addition, you could even use a canopy, a shielded canopy, to shield a smaller area, say over your bed, for example. These are mesh fabric canopies that you simply hang from a hook in the ceiling. And this will shield a smaller area if you don't want to do the whole room, or if you're in a rental space where you're not at liberty to make changes like painting. And then there's shielded clothing as well. So there's hats and gloves, shirts and pants, socks even for shielding the feet. All of these are possible. So if you just want to shield your body, you can do it that way as well. So there's 3 levels: architectural shielding, you shield the ceilings, you can use a canopy, or you can use clothing to shield your personal shielding.
Now,
all
if you were to,
possible, and it's easy to tell if you need it just by making a measurement. Right? You'd get an appropriate meter and make some measurements to see, do I have radiation? Microwave radiation coming from communications or cell towers or other radio stations and so on.
The gigahertz solutions device would probably be the best. Would that be the best one, the gigahertz solution with the antenna?
That's an absolutely hands-down favorite of mine. It's so easy to use. It's so sensitive. And the antenna is directional, so you can tell, is the radiation coming in through the windows, or is it coming in from above, or is it coming in from the west, or, where is this radiation coming from, so that you can hunt it down and put shielding in the appropriate place. You don't want to put shielding on the floor when really you need it on the ceiling, for example.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it, how effective, once you find out where the problem is. And one of the most common causes, it disrupts the sleeping pattern, so insomnia, agitation, just stress. Again, we talked about the stress of the body and free radicals. Final common pathway for all forms of stress and pollution is free radicals. Emil de Tafel, our expert on electropollution, is here. I find it very hard to explain to people and get them to kind of really wake up to realize how serious this problem is. We started getting cell phones back in the 80s. It was actually kind of funny. You'd see all these fancy shows with cops and other people, and they'd walk around with something that looked like a very large, long brick as a cell phone. And if they were in their cop car, if they were walking around, you'd have the cell phone. It was huge. It's like, and it looked so obstructive, like maybe it was a weapon. You take this and hit somebody with it. Now the cell phones are sleek. They're very powerful. They are using them in something like an elevator or a car. They're drawing so much energy from the battery, they actually get hot. And the frequency range and the energy being put up by these phones to connect to the tower, it's called a handshake, is enormous. It's interesting. We have these little pockets. And in fact, I mentioned it yesterday, and I didn't get any callers to call in. Our number, by the way, 800-259-5791, if they had a really good nutritional question. I'm going to make it today on this segment. If you have a good electropollution question, and it's the best of the ones, it has to be a good one. And if it's not good, I'm not going to give you the pocket, but you get a free cell phone pocket, which is, costs, I think, was it $18.60, I think, and that's without shipping. You get one of them free if you call us and have a really good question. If it's a so-so question, you're not going to get it. So if you call in right now, and the 800-259-5791, and we'll be able to kind of use it as part of the grid. So what I tell people, though, is you still need to take these seriously. If you're putting a cell phone in your pocket, you're irradiating, as they say, a guy, if it's near your your testicles or your other organs, your groin, etc., you don't really want to expose those tissues and your lymph nodes, etc., to oxidative stress and radiation. We have these published articles now. I'll be posting those links and that actual abstracts from the National Library of Medicine. This is no longer a joke. And anybody who wants to make it a joke, and I tell them the secret weapon is, if your friend is ignorant and says that Dr. Deagle is out to lunch, and this is not true, you ask them two questions. What's their time windows and their phone numbers that I can personally call them or email them? Because I'll set them straight. And the fact is that it's going to be one by one we're going to win this over, so people realize that Wi-Fi networks can be dangerous, which is why they're being taken out of private schools in Europe and elsewhere. Cell phones are getting more and more energetic, and they can literally cause side-dominant raised cranial nerve and brain tumors and actual retinal and eye deterioration on that dominant side. That the little plume of radiation around a cell phone isn't just because you don't put it near your head, because it goes out for yards. How large is the major part of the plume of radiation around an average cell phone now, like one of the new iPhone 5s or whatever? Emil, how big is it?
Yeah, you can easily measure it 6 feet away. If you have the right kind of meter, you can measure it across the room. You need to understand it's reaching miles to the cell phone tower.
Right, but the heavy radiation is the cube of the inverse cube of the radiation. So you're right. You're talking about 6 to 8 feet or whatever. So it's not like if you put it in your purse, it's not going to radiate you because it's not on your head. Or if you stick it in your pocket and you're only leaving it there for a little while. But most people will walk around and go shopping or do other things, thinking nothing of the fact that this nice slimline cell phone is not a big bulky brick like it was back in the 80s, is not causing problems. We had a company about a year and a half ago that's working on trying to get funding with a new type of antenna that makes 1/100th the amount of cell phone radiation designed around a new NASA-styled antenna. The problem is initially the antenna that they use for cell phones is really not very good. So their idea was to put more and more energy there, better batteries, and put more frequency multiplexing in order to get a connection to the tower. They didn't care how much energy they put out. They didn't care about thermal or non-thermal radiation effects in your cellular DNA or enzymes. And of course, they knew the literature back then didn't expose them as to what they're doing, which is an experiment on the public. Once they started doing things like mice experiments and realizing mice stop learning when the Wi-Fi network, that children stop learning and their permanent memory trace can be interfered with by cell phone towers, Wi-Fi networks, etc., it became a real big problem. So, Emil, what's your approach? How do you convince people that think this is like a non-issue, the whole issue of electropollution? Because it's easy to even tell people, hey, you need specific nutrients to help your heart get better and to detox your body. But they don't realize when we talk about, say, glutathione talks about selenium, it's actually protecting you against cell phones. I mean, would anybody have guessed 30 years ago that people would be taking selenium so their cell phone wouldn't fry their brain? Or taking cell detox glutathione or Nutritrala? This is not a funny thing. I mean, this is real serious, because if someday you go to your doctor and you say, you know that headache you have? It's not just a headache. You got a brain tumor, or you've got retinal deterioration, or you've got an 8th cranial nerve tumor and we got to do surgery, or some idiot doctor's going to talk about proton therapy radiation, specially directed so it won't fry everything around it. And, you don't want to be sitting in an office where some doctor says you bought it. You got to do this treatment now or you're going to soon be dead. And the treatment itself might kill you. How do you talk to people, Emil? Because,
the first thing you have to ask yourself is, why is it not common knowledge? Why is it not in the media? Why is it not being talked about that brain tumor rates coincide very closely with the rollout of cell phones in countries? They've done study after study in Europe, in Asia, in India, where they roll out cell phones and you see the brain tumor rates just increase with the increased numbers of people using cell phones. Why now they can measure the oxidative stress on a cellular level or on an organism level when you expose someone to cell phone radiation. You have to ask yourself, why is this not being talked about? Why is this not in the news? Why is this less of a concern than what's going on in the Middle East or elsewhere in the world? You really have to ask yourself, and you have to wonder what kind of money is behind keeping this at a very low simmer, despite the hard scientific evidence that's out there now about the dangers of electromagnetic pollution.
Yeah, how likely is it you're going to be affected by something in the Middle East, to be honest with you, or even the price of oil going up? And then you're sticking a cell phone to the side of your head, you're living in a Wi-Fi network, you got a smart meter, say, on the other side of your wall from your bed.
Right.
And maybe you got a bank of these because you're in an apartment building, and your little apartment's got 60 smart meters, and you don't realize the reason why you're insomniac and you're anxious and your heart's palpitating and you're getting cardiac arrhythmias and your health is going down the toilet, that in fact you're being stressed. Cellular stress doesn't care whether it's due to ionizing radiation, non-ionizing cell phones, electropollution, fluoride, radiotoxins from Fukushima. It really doesn't care. It's all kind of funnels right down to free radicals. That's the final common pathway.
That's exactly right, and it has all those consequences in terms of cardiac effects and cholesterol effects and diabetic effects and neurological and insomnia and so on. The list goes on and on. I think people will only really wake up to this when they can see it, hear it, feel it, taste it somehow. When if they had sense organs on their body for seeing the electromagnetic environment, and they walked into a house which was just screaming with electronics and electromagnetics, coming from the little digital display on the stovetop, coming from the cordless phone in the corner of the room, coming from the fluorescent lights, coming from the wiring, coming from this, coming from that, coming from the Wi-Fi, coming at you from every direction.
I got a solution for you. What you do is you have a new cell phone app, and your cell phone could be set up as, or a radiation app for radiation detector. And what you do is you set up this little radiation detector that would be like a smell-o-vision. As soon as it gets bad, all of a sudden it gives you this terrible smell. You say, oh, that smells bad. It's probably, and you'd have the smell of electropollution. How's that?
That would be very interesting and maybe very convincing. I don't know.
People need an emotional connection, by the way.
Come out with such a product, but it would be fun.
In other words,
but you know, there
attach
are
to your little radiation detector.
Make a sound, for example, that you can simply carry around, and it will buzz at you with the intensity of the buzzing corresponding to how much radiation there is. And you can walk around with this, and very quickly, you don't have to know how to use a meter or anything. You just listen. And you'll hear the buzzing increase as you move towards a source of radiation, or maybe it'll be throughout the home. And it's a very easy way to tell how much exposure you've got there, and might be a way for people to convince themselves and others that there's an issue.
Yeah, and what I noticed when I look at, we're a gamma radiation detection site in this network with David Crane, and about every 2 to 4 hours you see a spike in radiation of gamma, which means we're getting a surge of cesium-137. Welcome back to the Nutrimedical Report. And I want to just kind of talk about some of the amazing things that are going on in the nutritional wellness area. Some of the nutraceuticals we carry, of course, are the most amazing available. Curcumin, for example, is considered a sacred herb in India. We have the best form of slow-release curcumin in Cell Defense, which is one of the best anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer nutraceuticals for solid organs, your brain, heart, liver, kidneys, etc. We have the best anti-inflammatory, which is not going to be non-steroidal. It is Inflam-X, which is 10 times stronger than the Wobazide N formula, plus it has serrapeptase or silkworm enzyme. We have nutraceuticals like, are we coming back into production now? We now have available the NutriComplete, which, by the way, we had serious production problems for some months now. That is totally solved. And we have NutriComplete, which will be arriving in the next couple of days. So that's here. We also have Samethyl acetylmethionine. Samethyl is very powerful. It's the most powerful way to remethylate. That improves methylation is important for detoxification of the liver, methylation for brain neurotransmitter levels, and for the production of myelin sheath. For peripheral myelin sheath, it's well for things like multiple sclerosis, for peripheral neuropathy, for all kinds of things. Methylation is an extremely important pathway. When we look at the different solutions to different problems, we find out many of the things are present, like our NutriComplete has the most powerful goji berry and other antioxidants, best reds and greens. And of course, I was in the habit of always adding it to my drink. I was out for a while when we had production problems, but that's now been solved. And when you're having things, for example, like lycopenes, are matches statins in improving blood vessel function. Why would you use a statin drug to so-called protect from inflammation in your artery walls when you can use fatty acids like omega supreme krill, omega cod liver liquid, and lycopenes, which is in our Vision Max? Very, very important formula. So that's an amazing effect. One of the things that I'd like to tell people is that when we start using functional medicine tests, we now have the capacity to combine them with conventional tests. This goes well beyond naturopathy or chiropractic or anything else. We're talking about advanced medical tests you can get done with your doctor and tests you can order yourself, such as labtestingdirect.com and other labs, where you can order genetic tests, organic acid tests, blood stool tests. You can look at intracellular minerals, heavy metals, all kinds of things, even genetics. In fact, I've been getting a number of questions for doing genetic analysis. The company 23andMe, I'm sure, will soon be out of the purview and the controls of the Federal Drug Agency, the FDA. We call them fatal drugs allowed. And the FDA stopped last December 23andMe doing genetic analysis and giving information from their giant database of three quarters of a million, I think, almost cases where they had genetic analysis and were able to have permission to use that analysis to correlate with specific illnesses. That giant database, by the way, is all based on published research. They didn't invent it. They just pulled from their database from all kinds of universities around the world, and it allows that capacity to be used. Now, when we look at our nutraceuticals at Nutrimedical, we are far more advanced than any other company in terms of what we promote. And we have other companies, too. We have pulled out specific nutraceuticals like lumbrokinase, pregnenolone, and DHEA, which are for adrenal support and male and female hormone support. We have the best zeolite, which I've researched to find ultra zeolite, which is the only non-acid wash zeolite. We have specific products like ellagic acid from the terminal shibuya, which is 300 times higher than the pomegranate plant. And it is an anti-cancer, cell repair, DNA repair. We've got posinol, an adaptogen to help reverse depression, along with calamine, BH4 biopterin, and Minerals Plus. It has the orotate form of molybdenum, etc., for bioconversion of neurotransmitters, and bioconversion form of other affiliate factors, zinc, copper, and manganese, etc. We've got two different forms of fat-soluble thiamine, which are incredibly important for both heart and brain function and detoxification. The allithiamine, which is research coming out of Japan, and the ultrathiamine B1, both extremely important and can't be replaced by regular thiamine. And of course, all of our vitamins are in the activated state. No other company has them. Not Longevity or any other company has activated forms, the final activated forms. They do not have, and by the way, have any form of iodine anywhere comparable to our Edgar Casey Tesla activated plasma form of iodine. There's nothing like it. You can't dig 300 million years down to get it. It has to be reagent grade iodine. That absolutely is only iodine molecules, no radioiodine in there, no other contaminants or heavy metals. And then it has to be put through a very special process, and there's only one individual on earth that can do it for me. And we're not going to discuss that technique or technology. We're not sharing it with anybody. We also have technologies such as we brought back our MagnaSoothe because by popular request, we have magnesium oil, the MagnaSoothe cream, which has got arnica montana for healing. We use it for psoriasis and for cramps, muscle cramps, etc. For post-massage, MagnaSmooth cream is fantastic. I use it every week when I get a deep tissue massage, which breaks up any issues that I do when I do my heavy workouts. Magna Charge, which is great after a shower or a bath, which literally you can feel a tingle as the bicarbonate causes electrical discharge through those meridian points in your skin. And it has the essential oils and all the magnesium oils from the Dead Sea. And of course, we've got Magna Soap, which I love, that magnesium oil soap. We have the QRMA. We have, of course, the quantitative resonant magnetic devices, which give you a remarkable accuracy. You want to keep it on the same laptop or computer, not move it around, for the same individual, and have to be honest in putting your name, your actual correct name, and the name of your health provider, me, into the machine. Don't fiddle it, because there's a degree of hyperdimensionality involved here. We have the 3-in-1 detox device, which gives you also a way of testing energy meridians as well as microcurrent, and the foot detox, which is another way of detoxing the body. And the Bioplasm NLS, which is Russian Space Agency. We have the latest version of it, the Bioplasm NLS, for actually sectioning through organs and finding what's out of balance. We have, of course, the Silver 100, always on sale, the only silver in the world that is a ionic siltrate complex. No other competitors anywhere on Earth. And if they say they are, they're liars. There are no competitors. There's nothing like it. And you can't make your own silver at home and be safe. You're just making chunks of tiny silver. We have, of course, Vibra Slim, and we also have the vibrational platform store. Basically, if you can get any form of vibrational equipment. I tell people I do 20 to 30 minutes on the highest energy possible every day and then do my treadmill. And I can tell you there's nothing like doing vibrational exercise against a high resistance cord. I have an actual athletic bar literally drilled into the ceiling and use my high resistance cord from Body Elastics with my vibrational platform, what I call a combination of yoga postures and calisthenics. And it's amazing. I mean, it'll take the kinks out of anybody. It'll exercise your muscles, get your heart rate up, cause the stretch of muscle stretching, Golgi tendon, improve balance and proprioception. It does increase in metabolism for up to 40 hours after a good exercise routine. And by the way, if you want to increase metabolism, I'm going to be posting up some new upgrades to our list of nutraceuticals for fitness and maximum exercise performance, and did quite a big review and gave an answer to one of our very fit listeners on the program. A lot of protocol updates coming. We have, of course, a site for Nutrimedical donations, because we do try to provide some supplements free to some of our veterans and some people in extreme distress. That's also limited, and they have to go through Michelle, because she's the ultimate person that decides those things. And we have the Nutrimedical cruise coming up in November, and we're going to be coming out of San Pedro for a week-long cruise to Mexico. We'll be doing a number of talks. We'll also bring along some of my devices and machines. Those will all be set up so we can demonstrate just how amazing they are. I'll be doing some talks on nutritional wellness and also on the clay and iron side, on the spiritual side as well. And then you get a chance to one-on-one, and that's going to be quite a neat cruise. And it's just $200 for a couple. You have to sort of sign up yourself in for the cruise itself. It's at the Princess Cruise Lines, which I consider the best of the cruise lines here in North America. They're probably top-notch, and here as well as over in Europe. And the prices are reasonable. You can sign it as an individual, too. You don't have to be a couple. We also have, of course, the DVDs and documentary ebooks, etc. My ebook will be coming out here very shortly on Fukushima. That's almost ready. It'll be available in the next few days. And when that comes out, it's going to cover a lot of material. Eventually will be posted over as an ebook on Amazon as well. If you want to find out more about any of our technologies, everything from how to win in court with Dr. Fred Graves, hyperbaric dives, just contact me through our contact at Nutrimedical.com. We're here for you to instruct you, to mentor you, to help you get stronger, both in physical and spiritual, help strengthen our nation, and help people in the world to bring true peace to the earth, which is only through the Prince of Peace. And to start off with a true science-based, fully integrated medicine, genetic and metabolic medicine, that is not an alternative, but should be completely integrated with surgery and every other form of care. We'll be back in a moment with hour number 3, Tim Alexander. You don't want to miss it. Remarkable updates on the news and items. And by the way, it's all open lines, 800-259-5791.